Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Ghana officially completes debt restructuring program with its official creditors, paving way for possible release of the next tranche of the $3 billion IMF bailout. This afternoon, we find out whether this will be enough to give the economy the much anticipated boost. Also coming up, doctors at Oncology Department of Kofanochi Teaching Hospital in Ashanti region threatened to lay down their tools over a faulty radiotherapy machine. We're live in the regional capital shortly. And much later on the program, a former national chairman of MPP and board chair of GNPC, Freddie Blay, reveals to 3FM that SNIT rejected a $200 million bid from his son, Carl Blay, for the purchase of 60% shares in 4 of SNIT's hotels. We'll bring you details of that exclusive interview. Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has announced that the completion of Ghana's debt restructuring program with its official creditors. He says that the government has successfully restructured its debt of $1.5 billion with its creditors. Additionally, it has concluded the restructuring of $13.1 billion with Eurobond holders. Addressing a UK town hall meeting, Dr. Amin Adam said that efforts have resulted in savings of $8 billion for the country.
We are bringing the debt restructuring to an end. Last 2 weeks, we concluded negotiation with the official creditors, and we've agreed to restructure $5.1 billion. And I'm telling you, your government is good in negotiation. Of the $5.1 billion, we are going to make a savings of about $2 billion. As I speak to you, tomorrow morning, there will be an announcement that we have also concluded our negotiation with the Eurobond holders, $13.1 billion. And ladies and gentlemen, when we announce it, please read the details. We have negotiated a good deal for Ghana that will save us $8 billion. All this money we will no longer pay. We will have to use it well. And so the president has decided that we will create a special fund like we did with HIPIC, so we can direct these savings to strategic infrastructure projects, so we can take our economy to another level. And wait until the announcement. The confidence in our economy is going to come back stronger, because the world is no longer interested in investing in Ghana because of those debt restructuring. After tomorrow, it will be a different story. Watch the cedi to the dollar after tomorrow. Watch the cedi to the dollar after tomorrow.
The Minister for Finance also announced a presidential directive to disburse 1.5 billion cedis to assist customers affected by the banking sector cleanup operation. The directive, according to Amin Adam, mandates the disbursement to be completed between now and October. Investors have been demanding that the government pays up their locked-up funds after the Bank of Ghana undertook the exercise to clean up the financial sector.
We do not take responsibility as a government, because when people decide to invest in one bank or one instrument or another, government is not consulted. It's an individual decision. And when you are investing, you know that you can make your returns, you can also lose. But this government is so caring. Mistakes were made. People were not well informed. Maybe they didn't know who to consult to be informed or advised. But we also know that The people who are affected are suffering. We heard that some people have died. Some people had to commit suicide. This government is so caring that in the first place, we granted some bailout to all the affected. And I want to tell you again that the president has directed that we do another bailout. So between now and October, we will release 1.5 billion Ghana cedis to the affected people. This will not pay the entire amount, because the entire amount is 4 billion, but we are showing the roadmap. We will do 1.5 billion. Inshallah, Dr. Baumia will come as the president, and we will do all the rest.
You heard the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam. Let's bring in Professor and Chartered Economist with the University of Cape Coast, John Gache. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ghana has not paid any debt since 18th December 2022, as you're aware, and we now have postponed these payments. What does it mean for the economy? Should we throw roses at the government now? Because Amin Adam is talking about saving 8 billion. We're going to invest in all of that.
Well, I think it's not explaining the thing for you to appreciate. What that means is that you are supposed to be paying that interest to holders. Now, you will not be paying it to them, but you open an account, escrow account, and be depositing those money in them. And then, at a point in time, you will have to provide a documentation as to how you spend that money that has been accrued in the escrow account for development. So it's just like a hippie that we have signed on to. So it's not something that we should be jubilating about. I think that it's now sounding like a typical campaigner rather than a finance minister. He talks and then ended it up that they will do it for Dr. Baumia to come and continue. That is a typical campaign. It's not a finance minister speaking.
So if I get what you're saying, the reality check is that the incoming government should not be happy or be thanking the present government, because at least it doesn't have anything to pay until 2026.
So that's not what he's saying. He's saying is that about 8 billion is like you will not be paying those 8 billion to the Eurobond holders, but you will open an escrow account and pay that money into it. That is how HIPIC works. You know. So it does not mean that we are out of the woods. There is a time period that we may even start we resume payment to Eurobond holders directly.
That's the point I'm making, that
the debts have been restructured, so we now have a new maturity period. We now have a new interest rate, and we now have a new period that all these things will begin.
Yes, so that's the point I was making, that at least whichever party wins, the incoming government will not have to deal or worry about debt 2024, 2025 until 2026. So the indirect question was whether the incoming government should be happy because it will not pay anything until 2026 from 2026.
The point is that who will be putting the money into the escrow account? I think you get a whole picture.
Hello, sir. We can hear you, but your line is actually going bad. If you could reposition yourself so you could conclude on your thoughts.
Yeah, is it okay?
It's a bit better. Please go ahead.
Yes. I think that you have to put money into the escrow account. So it's either you pay the Eurobond holders to put it there, or you are commanded to put the money paying anything over there. It's only that you are now being disciplined, that what we say we are sacrificing, we will not sacrifice for nothing. We will now ensure that you pay those amounts into an escrow account, and we will be satisfied that you'll be using this money for development so that the Ghanaians who are sacrificing become beneficiary of all this process.
Prof, because of the quality of your line, let me just try and ask you this last question before you go. We heard the finance minister talk about, as it were, massive improvement in the city in terms of how it's doing against major currencies. Do you expect that to happen?
Well, I think it should take some time for us to see the performance of the city. It has been rough over the period. And again, the finance minister has become a campaigner for something like to initiate the level at which the city will be in a few years' time, trying to draw the people not to, rush for the city for it to gain some value. That is one typical example of how
we lost him there, but thank you very much, Professor John Gache. He is a chartered economist with the University of Cape Coast in the Central Region. We do apologize for that poor quality of line to him, but we're also joined by Julius Nanaya Ojima. He's the Executive Director, Center for Public Policy and Economic Analysis. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice.
I don't know whether you had the opportunity to listen to that analysis from Professor John Gache and your own interpretation of what he said, plus this latest information given us by the Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam.
Well, unfortunately, his network wasn't too stable, so I couldn't really follow his analysis earlier on. If you could summarize it for me, then we can take it up from there.
Well, he's talking about an escrow account from the earnings that we've been able to get, the 8 billion, which would eventually be used to pay our debt from 2026. And so we shouldn't be shouting yet. We are still eventually going to pay. Well, unfortunately, I also couldn't hear him about his answer. Well, he actually also said, I think I heard a bit of that the pressure on the city, it's going down. We may not see that immediately, although the finance minister seems to be suggesting that the next day after this, we should see some positive change. So just wanted to get your thoughts on what he said, plus what the finance minister has told us.
Well, I think, first of all, good afternoon to your listeners, and thank you for the opportunity. Yes, currently, we are in a phase of restructuring. The economy is going through, different phases. Here amongst them is our debt restructuring. And then I remember I granted an interview with Johnny some few months back, and then we were trying to analyze the impact of the current finance minister. So at the time, what we discussed was that the time and the period is very short. So obviously, the finance minister will only focus on making sure that we continue with our debt sustainability, and then make sure that we continue with the negotiations with the domestic debt exchange, the bilateral debt, and then our multilateral debts as well. So yes, any savings that is coming, is expected that that money is being maintained or kept to be able to offer the needed, forex support that the economy needs at this material time. It shouldn't be part of the money that it will go into budgetary support, and then, it will be expensed to the normal budgeting. But this money should be kept somewhere. That is why Prof was saying that we should keep it in an escrow. At least, even if it is not an escrow, it should be a maintenance account where we can use it to solve the current city depreciation. Just as we all know, we are going through that phase of where our exchange rate it's not stable. We are experiencing a lot of volatilities on the market. Businesses are losing their capital as a result of city-dollar relationship. So any savings that is coming as a result of these negotiations that the finance minister has really done well to be able to secure for the country, it means that it should be acting as a buffer for our gross international reserve, where it can augment the stability of our city. We are all expecting, the business community, individuals are expecting that the dollar will continue to fall to the barest minimum so that we can take advantage of it and restructure our economy as a whole. So from the point that Prof. Gachi was saying, it should be maintained in an escrow where later we can plow it back into the economy to make sure that the city stabilizes much further. It's a good one.
Mr. Jima, yes, so you are also saying that is a good one there. But let me get your thoughts. This $8 billion dollars that we were talking about, how much can it help in terms of repaying our debt from year 2026? And I'm asking this question regarding how you believe we can manage it so that when it's time for us to finally pay our debts, we'll not be struggling that much.
Yeah, I think it's a very significant improvement in our cash and cash balances of the country. Now the negotiations have really brought about this savings. The finance minister should really, really make sure that these monies, it's going to be difficult, but I believe that the finance minister will really do well to make sure that this money is really kept. We are in an election year. If care is not taken, some of these savings will find its way into the economy through other goods and services and payments of other, government expenditures. And then when the time comes for us to do the repayment, we might not get the money to pay back. So it is important that the finance minister takes all the necessary steps. That's why Prof was suggesting an escrow. The moment it comes into the country, obviously we know where the money will find its way into government, goods and services. But the finance minister should insist. It has not been easy for our country. It has not been easy for the finance minister, and let alone anybody who would have been appointed as a finance minister. So going through all these hectic negotiations, talking to your debt exchange, domestic, and then, external, for you to get all these gains or savings, it means that you really have to do something to protect it. We will leave that to the finance minister to decide in order not to preempt his decision. But all that we can say is to be able to encourage him to make sure that this money is being ring-fenced so that when the payment starts in 2026, we will have something to fall on. If that is not done, it means that all the necessary gains with your primary balance, with your fiscal balances, inflation coming down, now your public debt reclining, and then you are seeking to improve your exchange rate balances. These things will reoccur in 2026. So the part that we are on it, the finance minister should be empowered, should be encouraged to take every effort, and I believe he has that measures. He has gone through these negotiations to make these savings for the country, so he would know better where he can keep this money and make sure that the money is being protected and then it will not find its way through the economy and then it's being expensed. So that when it is 2026 payment begins, then we can have something to follow. Already we are not improving our
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt because of time. We're running out of time. But can you briefly tell me in like 30 seconds how long you think it would take for us to see a positive change on the city, please?
Oh, yes. Looking at the various indicators across the globe, I believe that in the last quarter of 2024, this year, in our last quarter, we'll be able to see some decline in our cedi-dollar relationship, that's the exchange rate, as well as the overall economic outlook. Data from the World Bank, data from the IMF are just so, and these are, data that has been verified. So we are all hoping. If you ask me now, I would say the last quarter of 2024 and they're going into the first quarter in 2025, things will begin to come or reverse to the normal that it will affect businesses and then individuals as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Julius Nanaya Ojima. He is Executive Director, Center for Public Policy and Economic Analysis. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. When we come back, we'll tell you what Freddie Blay has been saying about his son's interest in buying SNIT hotels and also what doctors at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital are doing.
Everyone is running to Bills. Enjoy the peace of mind that comes with acquiring any of our loan facilities. For whoever you are and whatever you're doing, Bills has a product for you. No susu, no deposits. All you need is your Ghana card. Call 0302-200-390 or 0596-928-33 today and live a bill-free life. Bills Microcredit is licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. Thank you for staying. Now, doctors at the oncology department The Konfanochi Teaching Hospital have threatened to strike over a 40 radiotherapy machine. The water phantom unit of the machine, according to the aggrieved doctors, is malfunctional and affecting effective delivery of healthcare services. William Evans Income is monitoring events for us. He joins us live on the line. William, first of all, establish for us the importance of this machine.
Well, so this machine ensures that the cancer cells in the human body does not grow as rapid as possible. That it slows the growth of the cancer cells. So that is the main function of the radiotherapy machine, Beatrice.
Now, for how long, if you know, has it been down?
We understand since October last year, it has not been working, and specifically one component that has developed some level of malfunction has to do with the water phantom. That actually measures the dose of radiation. So the dose of radiation is the determinant factor as to what the patient actually needs, in the course of the treatment. So it informs, or the water phantom informs the doctor as to the amount of those radiation that should be applied on the patient. And that one has developed a fault. We understand it will cost the hospital some $109,000. It's something that when I engage the management of the hospital, they say that they've raised letter of credit and also looking forward to the ministry to act as far as this particular development is concerned. But it has been very slow.
Let me ask you, I think I missed a bit of what you said, but what has been the response of the management to this threat, and has it even been carried out yet?
Well, so the management has said that they are working to ensure that that particular problem is fixed. In fact, they said they've even raised letter of credit, with the Ministry of Health, who is well aware of this particular development. But in terms of the strike, I can tell you, Beatrice, that the doctors really walk the talk. As I'm talking to you now, it is only the head of department at the oncology department who is at work and, of course, being supported by a clinician. So that is the current situation now. The doctors have laid down their tools.
Just paint a bit of a picture for us how this is affecting those who have come in. Are there queues? What's really happening?
Well, the queues are the OPD. A number of them are attending to, because it's only one doctor who is working, and even with that, he's only taking care of chemotherapy. That is what I understand. The radiotherapy side is currently down, and he is in charge of chemotherapy. So it is only one particular service that is being delivered at the oncology department here at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. But I can tell you that the pressure here is very, very, obvious.
Quite a disturbing situation. Thank you very much, William Evans Income, reporting live from the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital in the Shanti region. To some politics, and a former national chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party and chairman of the GMPC board, Freddie Blay, has confirmed that his son, Kwao Blay, the owner of Spartan Eves Company, offered to give the Social and National Insurance Trust SNIT up to $200 million to acquire the 60% stake in the 4 hotels SNIT wants to sell. He says that SNIT, however, declined that offer and decided to give it to another company. This comes in as controversy on the deal deepens. Listen to an interview he granted me earlier.
Am I answering questions for my son, who is over 30? It's about 33, 34. He's a grown-up, involved in business. I don't answer questions for him. But that apart, my son, if you care to know, it's not just involved in hotels. It's involved in the tourism industry. He has no ownership. He doesn't relate to the SNIT's ownership of the hotels. SNIT offered to sell several hotels. He wanted a package. My son's company, Spartan, applied alongside about 12 or so companies. He offered to buy it for over 150 to 200 million with a syndicate of banks supporting him, and a well-branded hotel chain, which he offered. Of course, Senate decided that he would rather not give it to my son's company and give it to another company. We are not crying.
Who is also a politician.
But it's not a question of a politician, it's a company. I'm not talking about a politician. If a politician owns shares in the company, it doesn't make the company a politician's company.
So, Mr. Blake,
Let me finish. My son is not a politician. Spartan, he has shares in Spartan. I, as a politician, I'm not a director. I don't own anything. The only relationship he has with a politician is the father. He was born
but
a
Mr.
father
Blake, you see,
who is a politician.
that's the point I was
Please.
making earlier, that in this part of the world, when you're connected to a politician, there are a lot of advantages. So
What is the advantage are you talking about? And let's discuss it. Advantages because the name is Blay. Advantages because the name is Sonkroma. Advantages because the name is JJ Rollins.
not necessarily.
Then what are you talking
but
about?
also, I'm asking whether you're denying the facts or the documents that have been put out that are apparently there was a partnership, and then eventually it's like the partner was booted out.
Let's move from.
Please, let me just land.
No, I won't
Please
let you
permit
land.
me.
I won't let you land. I want us to focus this discussion
so I'm just
because I
bringing-
believe you have very limited time.
You heard former chair of the MPP, Freddie Blay, in that interview with me earlier. The United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction has challenged Ghana to develop a comprehensive action plan for disaster response and management. The UN says that Ghana's scattered disaster response initiatives makes it difficult to track progress and result. Grace Hamwajiman is at the event where the UN rep in Ghana has been speaking. She joins us live now. Grace, why is the UND are making this call at this time?
So the call by the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Response has become important because we know that the rainy season is already here, and as usual, all of these agencies who matter when it comes to disaster and risk management in Ghana will get to action. These agencies include the Ghana Meteorological Agency, the Ghana Hydrological Services, and of course the National Disaster Management Organization. According to the UNDRR office, all of these agencies have initiatives or policies they have introduced when it comes to disaster risk management, but these policies are not coordinated. And so while Agency A is doing this, Agency B is also doing that, and at the end of the day, response results are not calculated, or we're not able to measure response and results. And so the UN office is making the call that if Ghana wants to go ahead and achieve better results or response when it comes to disaster risk management, all of these agencies must come together, have one action plan, each is designated roles, and then they go over these rules, and at the end of the day, the desired results is achieved.
We know that the NADMO rep has also been speaking about the office's preparedness as the rains begin. What can you tell us?
Yes, so we know the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is the go-to body anytime disaster strikes or when the rains are about setting in. We had the Director of Climate Services here at the training or at the program, and she has been talking about the organization's preparedness even as the rain setting. She tells us that they are already out there in markets and other places educating people on the need not to build on waterways, and also even in markets telling people to exercise proper ways of waste management, because when you look into gutters these days, you see a lot of waste which also propel flooding. And so they're advising people not to dispose waste indiscriminately, but ensure proper waste management actions. And then they are gathering their relief items, they are gathering their relief responses, and will always be available anytime disaster strikes. But it is their hope that we practice proper waste management so that disaster will not even strike in the first place.
And that's how we end the news here on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up next is Business Daily with Michael Ogodu. Stay with us.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello there, good afternoon. It's time now for Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, government makes $8 billion savings as it announces completion of debt restructuring exercise. We'll hear from the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam.
We are bringing the debt restructuring to an end. Last 2 weeks, we concluded negotiation with the official creditors, and we've agreed to restructure $5.1 billion.
Also, government records 3.6 billion cedis marginal oversubscription on treasury bills as yields on 182-day and 364-day bills dip. Plus, Center for Extractive and Development Africa raises alarm on political interference in use of petroleum revenue. We'll hear from its Executive Director, Samuel Osei Bequin.
The needs assessment may have been probably politicized, or the project may have been built as a visible project to advance a member of parliament or their political career.
We'll bring you details of this and more shortly. I am Michael Ogodu. Please stay with us. Well, thank you for staying with us. Straight into our top story. Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam has announced the completion of Ghana's debt restructuring program with its official creditors. The government has successfully restructured $5.1 billion in debt with these creditors, alongside the restructuring of $13.1 billion with Eurobond holders. Speaking at a UK town hall meeting, Dr. Amin Adam, who is also the Member of Parliament for Karga, highlighted that these efforts have resulted in $8 billion in savings for the country.
One of the conditions was that Ghana had to do what we call debt operation. We had to go and restructure our debts because our debts were considered unsustainable. I want to announce, for those of you who are interested in the debt restructuring, which has become Ghana's most difficult problem for the past 2-3 years, we are bringing it to an end. We are bringing the debt restructuring to an end. Last 2 weeks, we concluded negotiation with the official creditors, and we've agreed to restructure $5.1 billion. And I'm telling you, your government is good in negotiation. Of the $5.1 billion, we are going to make a savings of about $2 billion. As I speak to you, tomorrow morning, there will be an announcement that we have also concluded our negotiation with the Eurobond holders, $13.1 billion. And ladies and gentlemen, when we announce it, please read the details. We have negotiated a good deal for Ghana that will save us $8 billion.
So that was Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam speaking there. Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson, cautions that resuming debt servicing could exert pressure on the city.
Ghana is toxic. We don't pay our debts. And for a private company or an institution trying to raise money, trouble. You can't have a rating better than your country rating is. So for everything we do for which you would need any sort of credit, you may not even get it at all. And if you get it, it will be at an extremely high cost. Even though this is about public debt, it will ease the way for private organizations to also have access to foreign commercial funding. But there's also a flip side. Once this agreement is signed, we're going to have to start paying back the coupon rates on the money we have borrowed. That means we're going to soon get to the point where there's extra pressure on the cedi, because the little dollars that are available, the government is going to have to take some and go and pay those creditors. Good thing, significant event, but like everything else, there's also a dark shadow.
So you heard the Chief Executive Officer of Daylex Finance, Joe Jackson, speaking. Now, government recorded about 3.6 billion cedis of marginal oversubscription of Treasury bills auction. According to the auction results by the Bank of Ghana, this represents 1.38% oversubscription of the sale. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details.
Liquidity has been very tight on the money market for some time now. Per the results of the auction, investors showed more interest in the 91-day bill than the other financial instruments. About 2.76 billion cedis, representing 76.61%, came from the 3 months instrument. The uptake was the same as the bid standard. For the 182-day bill, 660.62 million cedis of the bids were tendered and all were accepted. About 182.4 million cedis were also tendered for the 364-day bill. Again, all the bids were accepted. But there was mixed development with respect to the yield curve. For the interest rates, the yield on the 91-day bill went up slightly to 24.86% from 24.85% the previous week. That of the 182-day bill dipped by 2 basis points to 26.8%. Similarly, the yield on the 364-day bill also went down to 27.78% from 27.81% the preceding week.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, the Center for Extractives and Development Africa, CIDA, has raised concerns about political interference hampering the effective use of petroleum revenue. CIDA claims that interference is preventing development authorities from efficiently utilizing the annual budget funding amount ABFA allocated to various projects across the country. Speaking at a media engagement on the impact assessment of ABFA utilization, CIDA's Executive Director, Samuel Osei-Bekwin, stressed the need for development authorities to have the autonomy to implement projects based on their plans without disruptions from members of parliament in their jurisdictions.
If you look at the approach by the development authorities in terms of they conducted needs assessment. However, there was some political interference in the needs assessment because there have been projects that, for instance, one in the OT region, where the market store have been developed, but nobody is using it. And in our interviews with the community and assessment showed that the community did not select that project as part of what they really wanted, or the location of the project was not cited in where they wanted. And so we noticed that the needs assessment may have been probably politicized, or the project may have been built as a visible project to advance whether a member of parliament or whatever their political career. And so that hasn't had any impact at all.
That was Executive Director for the Center for Extractives and Development Africa, CIDA, Samuel Osei-Bekwin speaking there. Before we leave you, trader groups have raised concerns over what they describe as a lack of policy direction to curb the rapid depreciation of the cedi. The currency has depreciated around 20% so far this year. According to Bloomberg, the cedi is among the worst performing currencies in the world this year, ranking 4th. President of the Traders Advocacy Group, Ghana, TAG, David Kojo Amwating, laments the effect of the slump of the currency on traders. He noted that traders are losing their investments following the cedi's slide. Well, on that note, to bring an end to today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Ogodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe.